Hi, this is Dave and welcome to The Table, a series of videos where I review and discuss board games, looking at them from a family perspective and seeing how they would fit into your gaming library. Today we're going to be looking at a game called Starstead from Iron Kitten Games, designed by Dan Cunningham. This is a 2 to 3 player game that's set in a science fiction space theme. It's got card drafting and set collecting, and it plays in about 20 minutes. Let's take a look at the game. A little sample playthrough, and then I'll come back at the end and give you my thoughts. I want to take a look at the components that come in the game Starstead. There are 70 cards in the deck, as well as 3 quick start reference cards that we use to determine player order. First, let me show you the cards that come in the game. And I'm going to spread these across so that you can see. The cards come in 5 different colors, named after elements, and they represent the different systems. Neat thing on the artwork, on the back side is you can see the color of which the system is going to be, and that is for a part of the game where they call it long range scans. And also along the edges, it looks like if we were to use chromatography, it looks like for each of the elements is where it would show up on that type of test. Anyways, the colors here, we have white is nitrogen, and that's neutral. Yellow is sodium, blue oxygen, green magnesium, red is hydrogen. On the opposite sides of the cards, they'll have a number as well as a value. They range from 2 to 5, 2 being the most common, which are stars. They're the most numerous. We'll have 3s, which are clusters, 4, which are clouds, and then 5, which is a galaxy. Those cards will in turn be played in melds and scoring points. One of the other types of cards that comes in the game is it's a 2-sided card. On one side will be Quick Start, which is on the left, and on the back side will be the utilization abilities, which I have another card flipped over on the right-hand side. This will briefly explain each of the 5 phases of the game on the Quick Start guide, as well as there's a number on there that will determine player order. And then on the back side is utilization abilities, and this is what you can do during the very first phase of the game once you have settled a system past a certain number of points. So it's kind of useful. You'll have this next to you. The way that you determine player order is you shuffle these up, place them face down, and then you will draw a card, and if you flip it over, whatever the number is that is in the lower left-hand corner, that will determine what position you are in terms of starting the game, either 1, 2, or 3. Let's take a look at the gameplay. Beginning of the game, we'll shuffle up the cards and we'll place them down here on the table. If you're playing with 2 players, you will take the top 10 cards off of the stack and put them off to the side. They will not be in play for the game. Players can look at the back side to see what type of the cards they are, but not the values. I'm going to set this up as if we were going to be playing a 3-player game. Each player will in turn draw one of the utilization ability cards. They'll flip it over to see what turn order they are. This happens to be a number 2. So my player will be going second, third, and maybe this is the first player. So we will deal out 3 cards to each player. That'll be their hands, and then we will develop the game board itself. I'll place the cards all face down here, starting from the farthest and working my way in. And these are the different types of systems that we will be drafting from. The near system, the middle system, far system, and far distance system. Despite the fact that I played this as a second player, I'm going to have it as if this player was going to be going first. And I'm going to place my cards face up so that you can see kind of what cards that I have in my hand. I have a 4 in the magnesium system, which is green, and I have 2 in the nitrogen system, a 3 and a 2, which are neutral. Neutral cards, when it comes down to one of the other phases of the game, I'll show you how that works. Looking at the phase of the game, first phase is what's called utilize. And the only time you can utilize an ability, which would be listed on the back side of our quick start guide, is if we have a particular system that's been settled and developed into, in a 3-player game, 15 points or more. For a 2-player game, it would have to be 18 points or more. So for the beginning part of the game, we're not going to be able to have that phase. The rest of the phases will be followed in order and they cannot be skipped. So we're going to be doing what's called the explore phase. In the explore phase, we will be actually drafting cards to take into our hand, be able to claim them, and then settle them in order to score points. So in order to what we call explore, we will look at the cards. Once we look at the cards, we'll look at them face up, and I'll just place this face up so that you can see what it is. And this is a 3 in the oxygen system. I can choose to take this card into my hand now, because I already have another 3 and I'll be able to play that later on. But maybe I don't want to do that quite yet. So I'm going to decide not to. I know what that card is. And once I go past it, once I put it face down and I move on to the next one, I cannot go back. So let's look at this card right here. This is a 2 in the sodium system. I don't necessarily think I want this one. Let me look at this one here. This is a 3 in the sodium system. I'm going to choose to draft this card and pull this into my hand. That is what's claiming. That phase of the turn is claiming the system. Now I will be able to settle a system. Settling a system entails playing cards of the same group and the same value. And you can place them down in melds, just like if you're playing rummy. And the cool thing is with the nitrogen cards, they can be played along, as long as they have the same value, they can be played down, as I'm going to show you right here. For this settle phase, I'm going to play this 3 sodium system and this 3 nitrogen. I have now developed my sodium system to a value of 6. Once I've settled, the next phase of the game is called restocking, and what I will do is I will place another card on each pile up until the system that I have settled. Play will continue around. Each player will then in turn be able to do the same thing, except for now there will be multiple cards for them to look at to be able to draft and claim and settle. You can only settle one system per turn, so even though you may have a bunch of different groups that you can play, you can only choose one. Okay, so we'll assume that the play has come back around for this player, and I'm going to look at these cards, and maybe I don't necessarily want these. And I don't necessarily want those either, and I'm going to choose this one right here. So putting them into my hand, I will look like this. Now, even though I have a set of 2 cards here, I can play those. And now I'll play this magnesium system at 2, and I'll play the nitrogen with it, and that gives it a value of 4. And then I will go ahead and restock. And again, these piles will get larger and larger and larger. If on your turn you don't have a set where you can play multiple cards, you can play one single card. Right here, let's assume I don't have any other 4s and I want to develop this up, I can play just a single card. One of the keys to this game is developing your systems equally. And because at the end of the game for scoring, the final score is going to be the lowest value of your systems that are settled. Fast forwarding some of the gameplay, and we're a little bit further along in the game, I want you to see that I have systems have been developed a little bit further along, and I've tried to make them equal, get you an idea of how the game is going along here. And now, as you can see in some of my systems, if I were to look at the point values, they're going to be, for this 3-player game, above 15. If I look at my sodium system, I have right here, this is at 14 points, I'm very close. And this one right here in my hydrogen system, I have 19. I'm at 9 in my oxygen, and I'm at 8 in magnesium. So I'm going to have to work on developing those systems. But at the beginning of my turn, because I am over 15 points, I will be able to, in the utilize phase, use the hydrogen ability. And if I look at my hand of cards, for the hydrogen ability, it says that I can settle any claimed star. So a star is a number 2 in my hand. And I will not be able to play a nitrogen in here, but I can take this blue, and right away I can develop that, play this down, and now I have 11 points. Now I will go on and continue with the rest of my turn. Some of the other special abilities that we'll be able to do if I have the oxygen system developed is prior to drafting, I will be able to look at each of these systems and the cards before I even go through and draft. So I'll have an advantage to know what I'm looking at. If I have the sodium developed, if I were to play one more card here and get this up, I would be able to claim one whole pile of cards before I even draft, pull those into my hand. The hydrogen I showed you And then finally on the magnesium system, what I would be able to do is prior to my turn, I would actually be able to restock the pile again, and I can put as many as I want, up to 3. I can put up to 3 cards out, and I can put them in any order I want to and in any quantity. I could put 1 here and maybe 2 here, or I could go 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, stocking in that direction rather than from here to here to here. Or I can put 3 cards on one pile, grab them all, and take them into my hand beforehand. All of these extra abilities can give you an advantage over the other player in terms of card selection. It may seem a little bit unbalanced because you would be able to do multiple things on your turn. But the fact that you can only settle one system and you have to have the game, you have to develop your systems equally in order to win, kind of keeps the game very balanced, and it adds a great amount of strategy. Play will continue until all of these cards have been claimed, all these systems have been claimed, and there will be no more cards out at that time. On the last turn, players will be able to play one last system, and then whatever they have left in their hand, like these 3 cards, would be considered unsettled systems, and they would just be placed off to the game, and we'd be able to determine the score. If the game were to end right now, if all the systems were settled, and I were to look at my score, my lowest score right here would be 8, despite the fact that I have 19 points on my hydrogen system, and I have 14 points on my sodium system, and I have 11 here. It's the lowest value, so this would be 8. Alright, let's talk about Starstead. First of all, it's compact. If you look at this box right here, it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. Stick it in a shirt pocket, coat pocket, throw it in your purse, take it with you if you're going out. If you're at home, it doesn't take up very much space in your gaming library. So it's very compact, and but there's a lot to this game, and I'm going to talk about that right now. First of all, let's talk about the artwork. Very simplistic in nature, but it serves its purpose. The images definitely go with the theme of space. The images are taken from the Hubble Space Telescope, and then just added artwork along the borders, along with the little chromatography for each of the elements around the borders. So very simplistic, but the game, it serves its purpose very well. Looking at the gameplay itself, there is a lot of strategy in this game. Even though it looks simple, there is a lot to it. The aspect of drafting the cards, over time, the more you play the game, the more you're going to be able to develop your strategy and know what cards you're going to need to draft. Looking at your hand, looking at what's coming up, because you can see in the deck when you use the top distance scan, looking at the far distance system, you're going to be able to kind of see what cards are coming up. That's one of the cool things about this game on the card backs, is being able to see what elements they are. The idea of playing the sets. You want to decide if you're going to want to play multiple cards and develop one system on your turn, or if you're going to play a single card and develop another one, because the key is balance in this game. If you do not balance your systems properly, you will not have a chance to win this game. That is one of the great elements of this game. It is crucial to have the game balanced. And I love it. It really makes you have to think. I was playing one game as a 2-player. We took off 10 cards of the deck, and a number of those cards were all the blue oxygen cards. And I got to tell you, I ended up losing the game because I did not draft, and I did not pull in blue cards into my hand and get them settled fast enough, and my opponent took the cards, and I ended up getting shut out almost. So you really have to look at that card drafting and settling system thing. The other thing that it may seem overwhelming at first is when you are developing your systems above the points of either 15 points for a 3-player game or 18 points at a 2-player game, of being able to do all the utilize abilities for each of the 4 systems. The first time I was doing it, I wasn't really sure. I could do I could do all 4 abilities if I had them all settled properly, and I can do them in any order that I want, and it really seemed like it was going to almost be like a landslide and start overcoming my opponent. But that's not the case at all. It's deceiving if you think the game is unbalanced, because it's not. Sure, you can grab all these cards and look at them all, play one card and stack the deck in your favor, but when all is said and done, you can still only play one system, or you can only settle one system at the end of your turn. And so you may have all these cards, but you have to look at what you're going to do on each thing. So it really lends itself to a well-balanced game. So I think that you can be deceived by all those different abilities. I was at first, and I wasn't really sure. The more that I play the game, I see how it works, and it's really, really genius. I think that Dan Cunningham, when he designed this game, did a really, really good job on that, and I really like it. This game, like I said, it has a bunch of strategy. Again, looking at it from a family perspective, the game is age 12 and up, and that's about right. A younger child would not grasp the concept of drafting and set collecting and the strategy of using all the different abilities. The game that I did play with my son, who's 14, he grasped the concept, and actually we played the game a few times, and he ended up beating me all the times that we played with him. I played it with my wife, and we've kind of split it between, we've split our wins, and I've played it with a few other people too, and the game, again, it's not for young kids. If you're looking at this game and you want to try and give it a try yourself, you can visit starstead.com. That's his website. You can order it on the Game Crafter. It's by a designer called Iron Kitten Games, Dan Cunningham. So if you want to travel and explore space, settle systems, draft some cards, play some sets, give Starstead a try. All right, that's it for now. This is Dave signing off, and I will see you next time when we look at another game and see if it can make it to the table.